Have you ever watched a YouTube video like this one and noticed how the video gets all blocky and weird?
This is called compression, and it's what computers use to make video files take less space or memory. The side effects are called compression artifacts, and they're very ugly. You'll never see a compression artifact in a movie, and that's because filmmakers are careful to use the right format of video to reduce these artifacts. All the different formats can be intimidating, but they each serve their own purpose.
Everything in compression is a trade-off between file size and quality. The lower you need your file size to be, the worse quality your image will be. Sometimes when you record with high compression, an image may look great in the camera. But as soon as you go to edit or color grade the footage, it's clear that it's not very good.
That said, know your video's destination. If you're filming a YouTube video, you can get away with more compression because the final video will be more compressed anyway. But if you're making a short film, especially one which may be screened in a theater, less compression is definitely better.
Most cameras will allow you to change which compression algorithm, commonly called a codec, that it uses to encode and store your video. These codecs are mostly named a series of letters, which is super easy to remember for everyone, except humans.
In ye olden days, you had MPEG-1, yuck, and MPEG-2, gah, which are both bad and old and bad. Nowadays, by far the most commonly used codec is H.264. This is pretty good and fast, and you can make it lossless, but it's not the best.
At the top of the pack, the cream of the crop, you have the following. H.265, also known as HEVC, the successor to H.264, which everyone is waiting to catch on.
There's AV1, which is the new kid on the block, who's probably the best, but no one knows it yet.
You got Apple ProRes, the proprietary Apple thing that Apple's gotta have. It's unfortunately very good.
And finally, XF-AVC, Canon's proprietary thing because they wanted to copy Apple.
Which codec provides the best results is very subjective, but keep in mind that H.265 and ProRes are the most commonly supported of the bunch. Oh, by the way, XAVC exists. It's a Sony thing. It's basically H.264.
So in conclusion, use H.265 just to make Apple upset. Also, keep in mind that most cameras call H.265 HEVC, just to make it extra confusing. Oof, that was a lot of letters, wasn't it? Too bad there's more. In addition to codecs, videos also need a container or file format which stores the encoded information. The file formats are MKV, MP4, MTS, MOV, AVI, MXF, WebM, FLV, F4V, ASF, M2P, TSV, VOB, EVO, 3GP, 3G2, and OGV.
Got all that? Well, forget it, because you can usually convert from one video container to another without much of an issue. MKV, MP4, and MOV are the most common, so if you see a file with that extension, you know it's a video. The other main advantage to some formats over others is the extra information they store, called metadata, and their support across platforms. For that reason, we recommend using the most common file formats where possible.
So, now we've finally got our settings, right? Right? Still no! Most codecs have settings within the settings that you can adjust. Now follow me into the depths as we talk about interframe and long GOP!
Interframe records every frame separately, while long GOP compresses over multiple frames. That's it. Also, long GOP stands for long group of pictures, so that's interesting.
Ever see numbers that look like this? Aha, my friend, you found chroma subsampling.
True story. Your eyes are more sensitive to brightness than color, so you can actually record a lower resolution of color data and a higher resolution of brightness to get very similar results. This is chroma subsampling, because you're taking the chroma and sampling it, but sub. The numbers 4:4:4 means that no chroma subsampling is happening. 4:2:2 means that the color resolution is half as much as the brightness, and 4:2:0 means that it's a quarter times as much. There's a little more nuance to it than that, but you can figure it out yourself if you're interested.
For now, just pick 422. So to recap, you want HEVC compression in MP4 file format with interframe encoding and 422 chroma subsampling.
Great, almost done. The next thing is to set the color depth. This is essentially the amount of color detail that every pixel of the image stores. For example, a very low color depth would group similar colors together, whereas a higher color depth would distinctify each one separately. These days, 10-bit color is a good color depth, although higher is always better, but at the cost of higher file sizes.
Finally, the setting you probably already know, resolution, the number of pixels captured in every frame. Resolution actually encompasses two things, size and aspect ratio. The size describes the approximate number of pixels overall, usually arising from the number of pixels on one axis. Some sizes are HD, Full HD, 2K, 4K, and 8K, which ranges from about 1300 pixels along one axis to 8000 pixels along one axis. Sometimes size is also measured in megapixels or thousands of pixels. HD is 0.9 megapixels, where 8K is 35 megapixels. For aspect ratio, there's the old TV aspect ratio, which is 4:3. The modern video aspect ratio, like YouTube, which is 16:9. And finally, CinemaScope for movies, which is 2.39:1.
In most cases, people can't tell the difference between 8K and 4K. And anyway, most screens don't have a resolution higher than 2K. So you don't really have a reason to shoot higher than 4K unless you're planning to zoom in post. Remember that 8K is actually 4 times the amount of pixels because it doubles on both axes. So 8K file sizes are massive and annoying to work with.
Okay, but now we're done. Except we're not! You forgot about color space! Turns out there's an infinite number of colors because you can always get more specific, and light wavelengths can always get longer or shorter. Our goal is to match the colors that humans can tell apart as closely as possible, while minimizing the amount of data color information takes up. That's where color spaces come in.
Color spaces are a specific range of colors that are used in a video, or an image, but we're not talking about that. The most common is Rec. 709, but there are a few others which come up in film. sRGB is basically the same as Rec. 709. DCI-P3 is something Hollywood invented to be better than Rec. 709. Rec. 2020 is the new kid on the block with the biggest space.
The color space, in addition to color depth, describes the colors that a file can describe. Most modern cameras can record a Rec. 709 color space at a 10-bit color depth. However, you may have a camera with a dynamic range larger than that which can be recorded in Rec. 709. What do you do in this case?
Color profiles. They're a fun way to squish and smush the full capabilities of your camera sensor into your color space by compressing them along a graph. Typically a logarithmic graph. Common color profiles are C-Log for Canon cameras, S-Log for Sony cameras, and for ARRI cameras, you guessed it, log C. It's different than C-Log, I promise.
Keep in mind that shooting with a logarithmic color profile, or shooting in log, means you'll need to do some color correction in post.
Okay, so what's the result? Everyone, say it with me.
HEVC on MP4 with intra-frame and 422 chroma subsampling and 10-bit color in C-Log and Rec. 709 4K.
There, was that so bad?
Now, as always, different cases may warrant different choices in these areas. For example, if you care more about quality than compatibility, you may choose XFAVC over HEVC, or if your camera supports ProRes and you can afford the extra space, you can choose one of the higher of the 6 options, like ProRes 4444XQ if you're really crazy.
Anyway, the point is you can do whatever you want. It's your life. We won't judge you.
Oh, hold on. Did you just set your camera to long GOP? Ew! Are you serious? Ew! Wow.
Okay. Bye-bye.